You know that drawer you fight with every single morning? The one that sticks, overflows, and swallows the one thing you need before work. I lived with drawers like that for years. Then I started paying attention to how homes in Japan actually work. Here is my promise to you. By the end of this, you will know how to reclaim whole shelves, drawers, and corners you forgot you had without buying a single expensive organizer or drilling one hole. These tricks come from Japanese homes because space there is precious. Apartments are small, and people have quietly perfected living large and tight rooms for generations. And I am saving the best for last. It is a simple rule about empty space that changed how I store everything, and most people outside Japan have never heard it. I still remember standing in my aunt's tiny Tokyo kitchen, amazed that 4 people cooked there without bumping elbows. Every idea here works in any home, including a rented apartment or a studio the size of a parking spot. Let me show you. The first one starts the second you walk through your own front door. In most Japanese homes, there is a small sunken area right at the entrance called the genkan. It is where shoes come off, and it is treated as sacred territory. Nobody tracks the outside world deeper into the home, but here is the part that saved me space. In the genkan, shoes are never left scattered flat across the floor. They are turned to face the door and tucked into a slim cabinet called a getabako, often only about 9 inches deep. That shallow depth is the secret. A cabinet that shallow barely eats into your hallway, yet it holds more pairs than the shoe pile you probably have by your door right now. When I copied this, I put a narrow shelf just inside my entryway and angled every pair of shoes heel out, toe in. Suddenly my hallway looked twice as wide, and the floor stayed clear, so vacuuming took seconds instead of a frustrating obstacle course. The feeling of walking into a clear entrance every single day is genuinely calming. It sets the tone before you even take your coat off. But the entryway was only the warm-up, because the next trick attacks the one place I was wasting the most space without even realizing it, and it is hiding inside every dresser you own. The second idea is how the Japanese fold. For most of my life, I stacked my folded clothes in flat piles, one on top of another, and you know exactly what happens. You want the shirt at the bottom, you pull it out, and the whole tower collapses. In Japan, I watched my grandmother fold every shirt into a small, firm rectangle that could stand up on its own edge, like a little book. Then she filed them upright in the drawer, side by side, spines up. The change is almost hard to believe until you do it. When clothes stand vertically, you can see every single one at a glance, like files in a cabinet. Nothing hides at the bottom. Nothing gets crushed. And here is the space part. Folding this way shrinks each item into a tidy block, so a drawer that held maybe 10 flat shirts now holds closer to 20 standing up. I doubled the capacity of my dresser in one afternoon without buying anything. This is the heart of the famous tidying method that swept the world, and once you feel it, flat stacking looks broken forever. Now your drawers are working harder. But therefore, the question becomes, what about the spaces with no drawers at all? The awkward gaps and empty air. That is where the next idea turns nothing into storage. The third trick is the humble tension rod, and in Japan it is a household hero called the tsupari bow. It is simply a spring-loaded pole that wedges between 2 walls or 2 sides of a cabinet, held in place by pressure alone. No screws, no brackets, no holes. And this is where I want to talk directly to anyone in a small apartment or a rental, because this next stretch is for you. I know the feeling. You look at all these organizing videos and think, that only works if you own your home and can drill into the walls. I rented for years and felt locked out of every clever idea. But the tension rod changes that completely. Because it needs no permission and leaves no damage, it turns rental limits into opportunities. Under my kitchen sink, I wedged one tension rod across the cabinet and hung all my spray bottles from it by their trigger handles. The entire cabinet floor below opened up for extra room. In a closet, 2 rods stacked at different heights double your hanging space instantly. I even used a short one inside a cabinet to hold cutting boards and baking trays upright, so they stopped sliding into a messy pile. The best part is the cost. A pair of these poles runs about $10 to $15, and they hold surprising weight when you wedge them tight. For anyone who thought these tricks were only for big houses, this is your proof they are not. And the moment you have one rod up, you start seeing empty gaps everywhere, begging to be used. Which brings me to a spot most people give up on completely, and it might be the most wasted vertical space in your whole home. The fourth idea lives inside the deep closet. In Japanese homes, there is a big built-in closet called the oshiura, traditionally used to store the futon bedding during the day. It is deep, tall, and if you are not careful, it becomes a black hole where things vanish forever. The trick I learned is to divide it into zones by depth, not just by shelves. The front is for daily items you grab constantly. The deep back is for seasonal things you touch twice a year. To make that back reachable, my aunt used a simple rolling drawer unit on wheels that she could pull out like a big drawer, then slide back in. No more crawling into the dark. And for the tall, empty air near the top, she added one extra shelf riser, a little standing shelf that sits inside the closet and splits one tall, useless gap into two usable levels. That single riser nearly doubled her storage in that cabinet. When I did the same in my hall closet, I finally stopped losing the extra towels behind everything else. Everything had a depth, a level, and a reason to be exactly where it sat. But shelves and rods are the obvious moves. The next one is something I had walked past my whole life without understanding how clever it really was, and it costs almost nothing. The fifth trick is a simple square of cloth called a furoshiki. For centuries in Japan, people have used these cloths to wrap and carry everything, from lunchboxes to gifts to bundles of clothes. I always thought of it as pretty gift wrapping. Then I saw how my family used it for storage, and it clicked. Instead of buying rigid plastic bins that only fit one shape and waste the space around them, a furoshiki wraps snugly around whatever you put inside. I now wrap my off-season sweaters into soft bundles and stack them on the shelf. They squish into the exact space available. No wasted corners, no bulky box edges. When empty, the cloth folds flat to the size of a napkin, so it does not become clutter itself. That last part matters more than people admit, because most organizing products become the new mess. One good cloth can be a bag, a wrap, a dust cover, and a bundle, all in one. It flexes to your space instead of forcing your space to fit it. And once you start thinking flexible instead of rigid, you begin questioning the biggest hidden waste of all. That waste is the time you lose searching, and the sixth idea fixes it with one quiet rule. In Japanese homes, there is a deep belief that every single object should have one fixed home, a decided place it always returns to. Nothing floats, nothing lands wherever. When something has one home, two things happen. You never search for it, and you notice instantly when it is out of place, which keeps clutter from building in the first place. I used to lose 10 or 15 minutes a day, just hunting for keys, scissors, the good pen, the charger. So I gave each of those a permanent spot, a small tray by the door for keys, a single hook for the scissors, a decided drawer corner for chargers. The rule I follow is simple. If I take it out, it goes back to its one home, not near its home, but exactly there. Within a week, the daily hunt disappeared. That is real time back in your life, every day, forever. And here is the beautiful side effect. When everything has a home, tidying stops being a giant weekend project and becomes a 30-second reset. But of course, homes need surfaces to hang things on, and if you rent, walls feel off limits. So the next trick opens up your walls with zero damage. The seventh idea is the world of removable hooks and over-the-door racks. And this is another one squarely for my renters and small space friends. In Japan, where wall drilling in apartments is often not allowed either, people lean heavily on adhesive hooks, suction hooks, and racks that simply hang over the top edge of a door. The back of a door is a huge vertical surface almost everyone forgets. It is prime real estate hiding in plain sight. On the back of my bathroom door, I hung a slim over-the-door rack, the kind that just drapes over the top, no tools at all. It now holds all my cleaning sprays and a hairdryer, freeing up an entire shelf inside the cabinet. On the inside of a kitchen cabinet door, small adhesive hooks hold measuring cups and pot lids, the exact things that always avalanche out. The trick with adhesive hooks is to clean the surface with a little rubbing alcohol first, and let it fully dry. Then press and wait a full hour before hanging anything. Do that, and they hold for years. Then peel off cleanly when you move out. No holes. No lost deposit, just space you did not know you had. That single riser nearly doubled her storage in that cabinet, and it is the kind of deep, compounding shift that changes how your whole home feels from the inside out. If you want to go even further with all of these ideas, I put together a complete guide that walks through every one of these systems in detail. It is called Clear Home Deep Order, and it is also available as the complete system for anyone who wants the full picture in one place. Everything in the books builds on exactly what we are covering here. With step-by-step walkthroughs, you can follow room by room at your own pace. You can find all the details in the description below. I think you will find it genuinely useful. Now let us keep going, because the next idea costs almost nothing and has been quietly hiding in plain sight in Japanese homes for centuries. Now, once your doors and walls are working, we go back inside the drawers for a trick that costs you nothing but a pair of scissors. The eighth idea genuinely surprised me, and it comes straight from thrifty Japanese kitchens. Instead of buying plastic drawer dividers, people cut clean, empty milk and juice cartons down to the height of the drawer and stand them inside as little compartments. The waxy carton is sturdy, wipes clean, and costs nothing because you were throwing it away anyway. Line up a few, and suddenly your junk drawer has neat little cells for batteries, tape, pens, and clips. I did this in my utility drawer, and the transformation was almost silly for something free. The chaos separated into calm rows, and there is a second use I love even more. A folded open carton makes a perfect little disposable cutting surface for cutting something greasy or strong smelling like garlic. So you protect your real cutting board and just toss the carton after. This is the spirit of resourcefulness I grew up admiring, using what you already have before buying anything new. It is the opposite of the constant buy more bins cycle that never actually solves the mess. But if you do want one small tool that earns its keep, the next spot is where magnets quietly work miracles. The ninth trick uses the metal you already own. Japanese kitchens make heavy use of magnetic strips and magnetic hooks, turning the flat side of the refrigerator into a working wall. The side of your fridge is a big, empty steel panel doing nothing. A magnetic strip along it can hold knives, spice tins, or metal cooking tools right where you cook. I stuck a magnetic strip on the side of my fridge and moved my most used spices there in little magnetic tins, labels facing out. My counter cleared up immediately, and cooking got faster because everything I reach for a dozen times a night is right at eye level. In the bathroom, a small magnetic strip inside the cabinet door holds tweezers, clippers, and bobby pins so they stop drowning at the bottom of a cup. Anything metal and small has a place to cling. This costs a few dollars and takes 2 minutes, yet it feels like you added a whole new shelf. And speaking of found space, the next idea is about the single largest empty zone in your entire bedroom. The 10th idea is the space under your bed, and Japan treats it as serious storage, not a dust graveyard. In small apartments, the area beneath the bed is often used deliberately with flat, shallow, rolling boxes designed to slide in and out easily. The key word is shallow and on wheels. Deep bins get stuck and forgotten. Flat rolling ones glide out with one finger. I measured the clearance under my bed, about 6 inches, and found flat storage boxes that fit exactly, then filled them with off-season clothes and spare bedding. That is an entire closet's worth of storage that was sitting empty under me every night. To keep dust out, I chose boxes with lids, and I labeled the short end that faces out so I know what is inside without pulling each one. Suddenly, my actual closet had breathing room. It felt like I had moved to a bigger apartment without moving at all. But even with underbed space unlocked, most homes still have one stubborn area that defeats everyone, and the next trick finally tames it. The 11th idea targets corners. the awkward dead zones where storage goes to die. Think of the deep back corner of a kitchen cabinet where you shove things you never see again. In Japan, I saw a simple fix used everywhere. A small rotating tray, what we often call a lazy Susan, tucked into that corner. Instead of digging past a wall of bottles to reach the one in back, you just give it a spin. I placed one in my corner cabinet for oils, vinegars, and sauces, and another in the refrigerator for condiments. Now, nothing hides, nothing expires forgotten in the back, which quietly saves money too, because you stop rebuying things you already own but could not see. A little turntable runs about $8 to $12 and rescues a corner you had written off entirely. The same idea works under the bathroom sink for lotions and bottles. Round motion beats deep reaching every time. And now that your home is filling with reclaimed space, the next idea is not about adding storage at all. It is about the mindset that keeps all of this from ever piling up again. The 12th idea is a decluttering philosophy called danshari. The word comes from 3 ideas: refusing what you do not need, discarding what clutters, and separating from the desire to own too much. I will be honest, this one humbled me. I used to feel guilty throwing anything away, so I kept boxes of things I never touched out of a vague sense that I should. That guilt was quietly stealing my space and my peace. Danshari reframed it for me. The goal is not to own less for the sake of looking minimal. The goal is to keep only what actually serves your life right now, so the things you love have room to breathe. The practice I use is gentle. I pick one small zone, one drawer, one shelf, and I hold each item and ask a simple question. Does this earn its place in my home today? If it does, it stays and gets a fixed home. If it does not, I let it go without guilt. Doing one small zone at a time means it never becomes overwhelming, and the calm you feel afterward is addictive in the best way. Because here's the truth I learned the hard way. No organizer, no bin, no clever rod fixes a home that simply holds too much. Space is not created by adding storage. It is created by deciding what deserves to stay. And that idea leads perfectly into the last one, the trick I promised at the very beginning. The one about empty space that quietly rearranged how I store absolutely everything. I first heard this rule from an older woman who ran a tiny, spotless home goods shop in a Kyoto side street, and she said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. She told me storage should never be filled all the way. In Japanese homes, there is a guiding idea tied to the beauty of empty space, sometimes connected to the concept of ma, the meaningful pause, the breathing room between things. Applied to storage, it becomes a simple set of numbers I now live by. Fill your closed storage, your drawers and cabinets behind doors, to only about 70%. Fill your open shelves, the ones you see across the room, to only about 50%. And your display spots, the surfaces meant to be beautiful, to only about 20%. That empty margin is not wasted. It is the whole secret. When a drawer is only 70% full, everything is easy to see, easy to grab, and easy to put back, so it stays tidy on its own. When a shelf is half empty, your eye can rest, and the room instantly feels calmer and bigger. When a display surface holds just a few chosen things, each one actually gets noticed. I tested this on my most crammed kitchen cabinet. I took everything out, kept only what I truly used, and refused to fill it past 70%. For the first time in years, I could take a plate without moving 3 others. Nothing fell out, nothing was buried. And the strange thing is, the cabinet felt bigger, even though I was using less of it. That is the magic most people abroad never learned. We were taught to maximize every inch, to fill space until it is efficient. But a home crammed to 100% efficient is exhausting to live in and impossible to keep neat. The Japanese homes I loved most were never packed. They left room to breathe, and that room is exactly what made them feel peaceful. So this weekend, try it on just one drawer or one shelf. Empty it, keep only what earns its place, and stop at 70%. Then stand back and feel the difference. That little bit of intentional emptiness is the trick that ties every other idea together and it is the one I wish someone had told me 20 years ago. Here is what all of this really gave me. Not just tidy drawers, but a home that finally feels like it exhales when I walk in, calm and clear and quietly on my side. If you are the kind of person who wants a home that feels effortless, where things simply go where they belong, and you stop losing time to the mess, then these habits were made for you. You do not need more space. You need your space to work. Now I want to hear from you. Which one are you trying first? The standing up folding trick that doubled my dresser, or the 7/10 rule with the empty space? Tell me in the comments and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I read every single one and I love seeing which idea surprised you most. If these ideas made your home feel a little lighter, come join us, because this is a growing community of people making their homes calmer and simpler, one small habit at a time. Subscribe and stay close, because next time I am sharing the tiny 5-minute nightly reset that Japanese families do before bed. The one that means you wake up to a clean kitchen every single morning without ever scrubbing at night. You are going to want that one. I will see you there. You know that folding trick I showed you? Inside my membership, the Tidy Home Circle, I pick up right where this video stopped. You can ask me your own question too, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You would be joining thousands of home organizers just like you. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime with one click.